the first bit of news is that the TV show. Now, I should preface this because there was a movie back in 2014 called What We Do in the Shadows. It was a mockumentary created by Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi. We know Jermaine from being on the Legion and Flight of the Conchords and a bunch of other things, but we most notably now know Taika Waititi from directing Thor Ragnarok. Well, they've been working on a bunch of things with this project, with this thing, like everything coming out of it. They're working on for New Zealand TV, a spin-off TV series called Wellington Paranormal, which focuses on some of the characters from the original film, and it should be coming sometime mid-2018. They're working on a What We Do in the Shadows sequel called We're Wolves, which focuses on the werewolf characters from the first film. They're needing time to get together to write it. But the thing that made it important enough to me where I'm like, okay, we want to talk about this is the What We Do in the Shadows American version is becoming a TV series, possibly at FX. FX has ordered a pilot from the creators. Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement will executive produce alongside Scott Rudin. You know him from The Night of and The Newsroom, and Paul Sims from Flight of the Conchords in Atlanta. And Scott Rudin Productions, Garrett Bosch and Eli Bush. Now, have you seen What We Do in the Shadows?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, we could probably gush over the movie on here, and we probably will. But
I feel like we may have actually reviewed it, or maybe you reviewed it, and then I decided to go watch it later on.
Yeah. The TV series will reboot with the same concept with a new cast. Now, some of these guys I don't know, but Kavan Novak from Danger Mouse, Matt Berry from the IT Crowd and Toast of London, and then Natasia Dimitriou from Your Friends, and Harvey Guillen from The Internship.
I don't know who any of those people are.
So
or most of those shows. Like, I assume it's not the original Danger Mouse. I assume it's the remake.
I believe so.
Danger
Yeah.
Mouse a couple years ago.
And
unless it's the DJ. Unless we've just found out who the DJ Danger Mouse is.
Possibly. So, with the Matt Berry side, because that's where I'm like, ooh, because I saw that name boldened on /film. So I'm going to take it you've never seen the IT Crowd, never seen Toast of London.
I've seen maybe 2 episodes of the IT Crowd.
So he came in the second season. He plays Denham's son in there. So he's the boss from season 2 on.
Okay.
But he was also in The Mighty Boosh, where he played the villain in there. British actor, very funny guy.
That you would want to have in a comedy.
Yeah. Like one of those guys that I don't think I've seen him do a bad thing. And he's done some weird shit. Like he voiced on BBC on their iPlayer. I don't think they played it on TV. It was just in their, on their website. They had Matt Berry doing voiceover, doing like narrate, like David Attenborough on 2 different animal things for different holidays. Just really dumb on one hand, but also really fucking funny at the same time. Like I'm watching this and I'm like, the fuck am I watching? And then I find myself laughing. I'm like, why am I laughing? Oh, because it's funny.
Oh, I just figured they must have made pot legal in Michigan finally. Because that entire description just sounded like everybody in California for the last 3 months. Yeah. Now, so here's another thing. The director, creator of What We Do in Shadows, say his name because I'm not gonna.
Taika Waititi.
Yes, works. Obviously did Thor at Disney. Did Thor 3, the recent one, the good one. Commonly is what we professionals call it. FX. Part of the Disney acquisition, correct? If it goes through.
Yes, if it goes through. But even then, I mean...
So someone who has a working relationship with Disney already is making a pitch to get their show on the channel that is possibly going to be acquired by Disney in
I look at it more this way. You have a network that doesn't necessarily know whether they're going to get bought or not.
Right.
That has a relationship with this other guy, with Jermaine Clement, because he's been in Legion. And I think he's done some other things in the Fox family. So
he showed up in other FX shows, definitely.
Yeah, and know him because I'm pretty sure if you work at Fox or FX or whatever, that you're not locked into only ever watching Fox stuff now. I don't think Rupert Murdoch is that big of a dick Debatable.
No, I think he's a much bigger dick than that,
Yeah.
but just in like different dickish ways.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's one of these things that like these people have heard or watched the movie What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, they're definitely hungry for content. And I mean, didn't they just no, or is that FXX that just lost Louis CK?
It doesn't matter. It was I think it was FX, but it doesn't matter. It's the same side of a coin.
Right. Well, I'm just saying that they've got holes to fill in that regard. The Always Sunny team, it's kind of up in the air how things are going to work out if Glenn Howerton doesn't return because of his new NBC show, which they're making a bigger deal out of than they did about the Mick over at Fox.
Yeah.
And how that's all going to work out. Maybe because they expect it to be more successful. I don't know. They've probably never seen anything on NBC. I know nobody else has. But I don't doubt that the content was both wanted and needed. That kind of casual timing thing of, hey, we just had this guy blow out fucking everything with this new Thor movie in ways that we were not legitimately expecting a Thor movie to do at this point. And wouldn't it be cool if we said, hey, why don't you bring some properties over to this thing that we're hopefully going to be getting together with soon, and like, let's keep it all in the family.
I look at this a little bit differently.
Also reminds me of Michigan.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I look at this a little bit differently though, not necessarily filling in on the comedy side, but we're forgetting the other part here. What We Do in the Shadows is a horror movie. Has it been done on pot?
No.
Dibs. I call them now.
Gregor brings us another thing that he somehow qualifies as a horror movie.
Well, but it is a bit of a horror movie. I mean, it's dealing with vampires, dealing with the paranormal and stuff like that.
Much in the way that Saturday the 14th was a horror movie.
Yeah. But so I look at it in this way. This is possibly them filling in the hole left by the strain.
I don't think it's that. Otherwise, it becomes more like MTV's Teen Wolf, which is another bastardization that I don't really want to talk about.
True.
By the way, Gregor, just before you claim it, Teen Wolf, not a fucking horror movie.
No. I was going to go What We Do in the Shadows because, I mean, that's a fucking great movie. Not saying that Teen Wolf isn't, but I mean, it's more of the...
I'll say it.
Yeah.
It's not. The only reason Teen Wolf does not look like the worst piece of shit in the world is because Teen Wolf 2 happened. And just like, God love Jason Bateman, but that movie did him no favors.
Ultimately, there's not a lot here with this.
You can tell because we talked about it so briefly.
There will be more to come. I can't wait. I hope at the very least this goes to series for one season at least.
I do love that there's as many spinoffs coming out of this movie from about 3 years ago as there are Game of Thrones spinoffs potentially happening.
True. And I mean, I think that proves that you don't need a massive franchise to make a franchise out of something. Game of Thrones, like George R.R. Martin says, he's got like all this stuff, and he's worked with people on expanding the lore, and so it's like we've got like 7 spin-offs coming out from HBO because, oh my god, we're almost done with Game of Thrones. We need some more stuff to fill in this gap here with the people. Come on, mix stuff, like because they're worried that they're going to lose something here, and yet. This is a mockumentary that I heard about through YouTube. I heard about through the YouTube network SourceFed when they interviewed Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
Well, let's just hope that I'm hesitant because how often do we get things from Britain over to America that turn out really well? I refer to the IT crowd Americanized, which included one of the main actors from the original one and was just a goddamn mess. I guess they're trying it again.
But this time with...
The Office, I think, got really lucky because one thing they did is after the first episode, they completely changed it. But you may not recall, Friends begot Coupling over in England, and then they tried to bring Coupling over to America, and it was just an immediately failure. It was so not good. I feel like there's some other ones, but yeah, it could be it could be good. It could not, but that's always the danger of anything. It's the interpretation that we'll have to see what they do with it. But with him involved, how much he's involved, I don't know. It has potential. It has real potential.
True. So the next 2 pieces of news, and we're sort of combining them here, is because one is really quick. Kelly Thompson over, she's a comic book writer. She has signed an exclusive deal with Marvel Comics. She's been writing stuff, over the past couple of years. She did Captain Marvel and the Carol Corps during Marvel's Secret Wars 2 event. She did Captain Phasma. She's currently writing Hawkeye over at Marvel, and she's also just started the Rogue and Gambit book. Here's the part that really got me interested, because it is January 23rd when we record this. They're not going to announce any of her projects until San Diego Comic-Con, which is a good 7 months away.
That is a ways away.
Yeah.
One of the things that we still hadn't announced yet is who's taking over Alias. We talked a couple weeks back about Bendis leaving Marvel for DC, and there were thoughts of who's going to go to where, and those announcements still haven't really happened on some stuff. We'll get to one that has now, but Alias is one that I think we were assured that a female writer is going to come in to take over that book, and that announcement still hasn't been made yet. So I think my guess had been Becky Cloonan because of what she was doing on Punisher at the time. We also now know that Gail Simone is going to be coming to Marvel writing Domino. A Domino series. But Gail Simone could do very good things with Alias, could do great things with a lot of different characters. But Domino's an interesting choice. So Kelly Thompson being signed as an exclusive, it sounds like she's been doing a lot of work at Marvel anyway, so it's that guarantee of work and pay and benefits and everything else. And maybe they'll actually start letting women go to do retreats. I don't know. But at any rate, cool.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. And the other bit that you alluded to is that Dan Slott is leaving The Amazing Spider-Man. He's been writing it
10 years?
Yeah, about 10 years. And he is going to write Iron Man. He did an interview with Vulture that we are not quoting anything from here. But he revealed that Amazing Spider-Man number 801 will be the final issue of his decade-long run with the character before he tackles an unnamed Iron Man title starring Tony Stark. So there's a little bit to parse here. The first one that I was looking at was why 801? Because we suspected last week when we talked about Bendis doing a backup story for Action Comics on issue 1000, that this could be the final issue for Dan Jurgens with Action Comics. And I'm like, okay, yeah, because it makes sense. Nice whole number. But this, it's like, I could stop at 800, but I got this little bit more I need to tell. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this as someone who hasn't read comic books in a while?
So he came in to Spider-Man during Brand New Day. He'd been writing some stuff that was, I think, outside of continuity with Spider-Man before that, but I was just checking to see what issues those were, and it looks like they were like 546 to 548. I was wondering if maybe it was like a round number that he was going for of how long he'd been there or how many issues that he was trying to do. It doesn't look like that's the case. So I'm not sure exactly why 801. I don't, maybe it just keeps 800 from having to be a triple size issue instead of a double size issue if he wants to finish a story in that one extra. Or maybe he's got a single issue story that he wants to tell after the big event thing, whatever he's doing finishes off. Either way, it's fine. It may also just be timing of like when Iron Man is available is the following month, and he wants to clear one out to have the break to do the next one. I like Slott in this character. He's obviously, again, 10 years writing Peter Parker, or Doc Ock as Peter Parker, is huge. And people, of course, all have opinions as to who's their favorite run on a character, and some people love Slott's work, some people don't love Slott's work. I know someone who was a huge Spider-Man fan and left shortly before Slott came in because he was just so pissed off with what they'd done to Peter Parker and everything else, and he wound up coming back in during Slott's run. And while he always acknowledges that it's very different from Spider-Man as like the continuity wise of what he grew up with and everything, he really liked his take on the book, and he liked the take with Doc Ock a lot. So I think that if you're open to it, I as I understand it, Slott's done some really good stuff with the book. Done some weird stuff too, but 10 years. Like, try to do anything for 10 years, and especially with a character that's so beloved, so long lived. so many expectations, was for the longest time the flagship character for Marvel Comics. I mean, as much as they based themselves off of starting with the Fantastic Four and everything, Spider-Man was the guy. You know, it was Spider-Man, it was the X-Men. The Avengers weren't big for a long time until the film universe came about. That's the part where I also appreciate this, because Slott looks at it as he's writing the character that started the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's writing Iron Man, and Iron Man used to be like not small potatoes, but wasn't considered the most beloved character in the Marvel stable. But once Robert Downey Jr. started playing him in the movies, that changed a lot of people's perceptions of Iron Man. Yeah. And I think Slott, maybe, was he part of the reason why Peter Parker went kind of Tony Stark on us in the last year or two of the book, or was that all Bendis?
No, that was Slott.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, he's kind of been writing I Tony Stark, Peter Parker anyways.
Yeah, I think they did that a little bit to keep some little things with the Fantastic Four still alive, like, you know, the fact that they were the main headquarters for Parker Industries was the Baxter Building, and
also to help differentiate Peter from Miles, who they just brought over to the main universe.
Yeah. Now there's this one part here in the article that I love, and it's a quote from Slott that he was talking about that how he feels like a jerk because whenever someone would interview him, he would have to lie. Like he would have to say at conventions and stuff, this is going to back during the Superior Spider-Man, Peter Parker is never coming back. I killed him. I lied horribly. This is a quote. I lied horribly, but that's what us storytellers do. We spin lies. Ha ha ha. Spin spiders. Ha ha. But then he goes back that he's known about when he was going to leave since 2014, since a little bit before I got into comic books, or a little bit after I got into comic books. He knew when he was going to end, because he talks about these benchmarks that he had to hit with these stories, and that it would end up being, you know, boom, here at this time. But no, I mean, ultimately I look at this and I'm like, all right, cool, this does fill a hole, and I do like Dan Slott's work. I love the Superior Iron Man, and I still like that it's because it's not even really out there.
Superior Spider-Man?
Yeah, Superior Spider-Man. Sorry, actually, I liked Superior Iron Man as well, but that was just, you know, extremely dickish Tony Stark, who gave Daredevil his sight for all of one issue and then took it away. But I love Superior Spider-Man. Like, I love that book, you know, with Doc Ock and Peter Parker's body, because it made for such compelling television for compelling comic books.
Yeah, I also feel like Iron Man is something that you can get away with more. One of the problems with Spider-Man is that for many, many people, he was their guy for years and years. You have an expectation of the character. You have an expectation of the character's relationships. You have Aunt May. You have Mary Jane, until they take Mary Jane away, which they did. Oh, funny enough, they put her in Iron Man. But you have the belief that that's why Spider-Man Renew Your Vows exists, is because some people still want that marriage back. They want that relationship back. They want the kid back. So how Slott did Spider-Man and changed everything, he killed Peter Parker and put someone else in the suit, but in the suit as Peter Parker, and just fucked up the whole world. But did it in a way that could still allow Spider-Man to do different things that didn't feel like it was a lie, because well, that's not what Spider-Man would do. Well, that's what this Spider-Man would do. It's not really Peter. You got to be in on this.
It was like the Superior Spider-Man book. Honestly, it took the whole secret identity thing and add the other layer of the fact that you have Doc Ock, you have Otto Octavius inside Peter Parker. He has to pretend to be Peter Parker for everyone around him at Horizon Labs, you know, upholding that persona.
Yeah, and like I always say, it's tough when you do something like that, when you change who's in the Captain America suit, when you change who's in the Iron Man suit, without having the book going alongside that, where people can still get that character that they are attached to. But he did it, and it lasted for a good number of years. Now, I don't know how many people read comics that actually believe Peter Parker is never actually coming back. Of course, Peter Parker is coming back. At this point in time, there's not a goddamn character in the Marvel Universe that isn't coming back or hasn't come back. It's probably one of the biggest problems with the comics is that death means nothing. But on the other hand, this is a very interesting thing to do with that story instead of just killing them, putting them on a shelf for a while, and then waiting for the time when it's like, oh, now we're going to bring back Professor Xavier for no fucking reason. But you'll like it. Still, my point going backwards is that with Iron Man, the opportunity is there to get away with more stuff. Because while Iron Man has established relationships, they've never been as solidified as what Parker had. Tony Stark is a very volatile character, but you can also do a lot of really imaginative stuff with the kinds of things that he does with his tech, with what the villains that he goes up against does. It's a very, very different rule set. And I think it's looser and people can be more accepting because the expectations aren't as high. And Beat's asking, how does Iron Man sell? Iron Man sells pretty good. Like I said, they had Bendis on both books for a while, and Bendis was their, in their top two creators. I think Bendis and Slott were really their top two writers at the company as far as performance. And, he was doing the Iron Man books. So obviously the expectation is that they sold enough to keep Bendis on there for a period of time. But he was also doing Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, at the same time. It's just weird, man. I think it's an opportunity for Slott to stretch his legs and do something else and still have some fun. Maybe he can bring back some throwbacks to stuff he did. Octavius seems like he could be right up there as an Iron Man villain as he is a Spider-Man villain. So if he wants to use him, he has the opportunity there.
Yeah.
Still the Marvel Universe.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. The next story, we talked about in the post show that how I didn't want to talk about this because I don't see this working. And it is, but I will take this because it leads so perfectly into my else views. And it is John Cena, now imagine what I'm going to talk about in my else views, is in talks to star in Duke Nukem as Duke Nukem. For those of you guys who don't know, Duke Nukem is the video game title franchise that it's going to be set up at Paramount. Platinum Dunes, the company run by Michael Bay, Andrew Form, and Brad Fuller, are set to produce. There's no one really else attached on there. But basically, Duke Nukem started in 1991. He was this super tropey like action movie like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rambo, all those action movies from the 80s. It was like that roll up into one, and then you got to play him. I'm oversimplifying this because I was 2 when he came out. Sorry.
Well, he was also he's got the personality of Ash from Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Put into a Doom style video game. Yeah. Except with way bigger fucking guns than anything you can fucking imagine. I wasn't a Duke Nukem fan. I like Serious Sam. But you're right. Now, so explain to the people
why I don't like John Cena being cast as Duke Nukem.
What is your issue?
So my issue is the fact that you have John Cena, WWE superstar, 16-time world heavyweight champ, tied with Ric Flair right there. He draws a young crowd. To dive into professional wrestling real quick, there are 2 people right now in the WWE who get the same reactions: John Cena and Roman Reigns. John Cena, for a very long time, people would boo him and people would cheer him in the same crowd.
But nobody cheers Roman Reigns, right?
People cheer Roman.
They're
Roman.
All plants. They are paid off.
What the fuck are you doing with these mark terms, man? Are you secretly a wrestling fan?
No, because they have Roman Reigns.
Well, I'll tell you who they don't have: Enzo Amore. Boom.
Yeah.
Burn, get out of here. Sorry, that's an aside. So Cena, and you look at some of his past movies, they've been on the kids can go see it, kids cannot go see it. It's favored a little bit more to kids can go see it. Especially his last movie, Ferdinand, which is a kids movie. Like it's one of those things that I think he draws too young of a crowd. That's my thing. Is like his fan base is kids. Now you have this character who it's going to be, and again, yes, the premise, as Beat is pointing out in our chat, the premise of Duke Nukem is made for 11 to 14-year-olds. True. John Cena's fan base is 8 to 10, like for a lot of them. And also, you're missing something. The premise of Duke Nukem is made for 8 to 14-year-old boys. Girls are a little bit more mature at 11 to 14. Boys, it's like, oh, it's because a lot of it is potty humor. Like I don't remember what game it was, but seeing where you can play as Duke Nukem and you go over to the bathroom and it says, use the toilet, and you see a stream of urine going into the toilet. And I remember giggling like a little schoolboy because I thought that was fucking hilarious. But then again, I was 14. So John, like, this seems like a weird step for John Cena, in my opinion, to play super sweary, because I'm now seeing the promos that they did for Logan, where they're like, oh, don't take your kids to this, or not Logan, for Deadpool. Now, do I think this is cool? Yes, but that's me as a 29-year-old. And it's like, I don't want to sit there with sitting there with a bunch of little kids in the theater going, and then the parents getting up going, this movie's swearing. And I'm like, and I have to be like, it's Duke Nukem. Of course he swears. Now, Corey, it's your turn.
So you're saying that this character choice skews too old for John Cena's audience?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to disagree with you in the fact that John Cena's audience, in relation to his World Wrestling, whatever the E stands for, persona, yeah, sure it is, that it is for, younger, that most of them have been young kids. I don't know how much of his fandom can be literally put at the feet of 8 to 10-year-olds, considering the amount of wrestling fans who are, again, your age, Glenn's age, don't tell him we said his name, my age on up. I feel like there's probably some crossover there.
Yeah.
But you are talking about the kids who watch John Cena in WWE. This is not for them. And I completely agree with you. This is probably not for them. This is for John Cena of tomorrow. Because John Cena, my friend, is 40 years old. He's closer to my age than he is your age. John Cena also is trying to make that transition from being a world wrestling entertainment person to being a TV star, a movie star, what have you. John Cena was in Sisters. John Cena said some nasty shit in Sisters. John Cena has been looking for his breakout, much like The Rock had when he played the Scorpion King. Scorpion King was PG-13 and everything, but after Scorpion King, what did The Rock do? He did Doom, which was an R-rated movie, which was an action movie based off a video game. Do you think John Cena is maybe trying to follow the smell of what The Rock is cooking, who is now known as Dwayne Johnson, and I keep calling him The Rock? Because that's the thing, is you graduate. You look at, I'm not going to be able to wrestle for the next 30 years, but I sure as shit can be entertaining up on screen if they give me a good property. My friend, this guy wants to go up to that next level. He doesn't want to just be for 8 to 10-year-olds anymore. He wants to make that transition. And that's where I think you're missing the boat, is that, yeah, Duke Nukem realistically should be played by Drago from Rocky IV.
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren. Yeah, he should be played by Dolph Lundgren right after Rocky IV. That's who this character is basically made to be. Except we didn't know that Dolph Lundgren had a personality at that point. He's become much cooler now, and could play him now. Arnold Schwarzenegger could play Duke Nukem now, but they want to get this property to a new generation. Because it takes 30 fucking years between video games for them, just on the one that they promise.
Yeah.
All in all, it's like we want to get a young hot star to revitalize our game character, and the young hot star wants to revitalize his career in this new direction. I think this is a perfect matchup, much like Brutus the Barber Beefcake going up against Bret the Hitman Hart. That's where I am with my wrestling knowledge. Sweaty mans. I just
used it all up.
Pretty much. Can I involve Junkyard Dog somehow?
Yeah, go for it.
Why? The fucking Federation doesn't. So I'm just saying, Coco beware. I think this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing for him. I think this is a smart move.
Yeah.
It was going to be a superhero at some point. It was going to be an also ran in a DC movie, not a Marvel movie. Let's face it, that he was going to show up in. Wasn't there some rumors about him maybe playing Shazam up against The Rock?
I think there were for a little bit, but I think it was more like fan casting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. You get fan casted, and if enough fans start screaming your name out loud, then all of a sudden you're the person that people start calling. It's like the people who say, "Oh, I'd really like to play this character." They say it out loud on Instagram, like, "I would really love to play Batgirl." Well, Lindsay Lohan, you fucking ain't gonna. No one's casting you. You goddamn blew it. You goddamn blew it. I feel bad. I'd like to see you have a resurgence. Maybe fucking you'll get a goddamn Pulp Fiction one day. You know, just somehow, you know, you'll John Travolta your way up on a fucking stage and dance real good, and people go, "Oh yeah, I remember when John Travolta was pretty fucking cool for a bit there. Maybe we can make him cool again." And then, oh shit, Scientology happened. Good luck. Boink. I think this is right. I think it's smart. I think it's good for both sides. It doesn't mean it's going to be a great movie. Doom again is the example. And video game movies in general is just like, oh shit, what are you doing? But it's a good property because unlike Doom, there is a personality to what the game is about. And that personality is big and boisterous and loud, and it's right up John Cena's alley. I don't think he could have picked a better thing to come in on that is going to show off his physicality, his charm, his intelligence, his ability to just lay into somebody. I think it's ideal.
Okay, now don't get me wrong. I like the idea, you know, personally, but it's one of those, like, again, my thing is with the wrestling community, because all the other movies that you've mentioned, they did not talk about John Cena being in them, like in WWE, in his home,
right?
And we mentioned, or Growly mentioned in the chat that he loved seeing John Cena in Psych. They had the Psych movie. Now John Cena made a small cameo at the end, but did they mention that at all? No. They mentioned Charlotte Flair. They mentioned her in there because she's in more of the movie. So I feel like if this is going to happen, and you know this moves forward, and they're going to stick closer to Duke Nukem the video game, then when they do advertise this on WWE, because they will advertise it on his home.
Do they advertise other R-rated movies during WWE?
Yeah, they've advertised other movies in there quite a bit because they also have a production company.
Right, but I'm saying, do they advertise other R-rated films?
Yeah.
Okay, then I don't think this is going to be all that different. I think it's going to be even more than that, because let's face it, no one is going to theaters to see the Stone Cold Steve Austin movies. You know, he's done a bunch of,
because he was straight to DVD.
Right, but that's just it. Is he tried to do his crossover stuff too, and if they could have milked it, and if it had been a big deal, then they would have. But when The Rock was in The Scorpion King, I bet they played the fuck out of those commercials. And when The Rock was in Doom, they probably played the fuck out of those commercials too. I can't say for sure, because again, I'm not watching this shit. But I don't think that the R-rated thing is going to keep them from advertising to the other generation or three of wrestling fans. It's just going to be like, hey kids, yeah, you're going to have to sit this one out. But guess what's out on DVD right now? Fucking Coco. Go get that shit. Hopefully you won't have to worry about skipping past the goddamn short from Frozen at the beginning.
Too soon.
I know that was not the same movie, but might as well have been. That thing lasted fucking 3 movies long.
So like, again, because the one that I'm trying to figure out what it was rated exactly, to hit your point on the whole, do they advertise R-rated movies on there? Yes, because again, I mentioned with the whole WWE Productions is the movie See No Evil, another movie that could, in theory, be on pot because it stars Glenn Jacobs, aka Kane. But I want to say that was an R-rated movie. So,
I'm almost positive See No Evil, those movies were R-rated.
Yeah.
They're violent as shit.
Yeah, it was R. And they advertised, they did behind the scenes production or stuff on WWE for it and stuff like that. So they have done it. But the difference is Kane, his audience isn't young. his audience is the older guys.
But I don't
It's
think
like
Cena wants to only be for a young audience.
No, and I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that's my fear of, with the fact that like John Cena, he's a fan of everyone, or he wants everyone. But when you look in the WWE crowd, you see a lot of kids wearing the hustle, loyalty, respect shirts. You don't see a lot of old men.
I'm also going to say that unless the movie is hypersexual, if at most it's super violent and has a lot of swearing, I don't think those kids are going to have any problem seeing it.
Yeah.
I think their dads or their uncles or anybody who takes them to see wrestling are going to be the ones like, don't tell your fucking mom about this. We're going to go see the goddamn John Cena movie, right? Okay. You say anything and you're going to wish you were in that fucking ring. Okay. And not with Roman Reigns, because that guy's a pussy. I'm talking about a real fucking wrestler here. I'll put you up against Paige. Boom! I just threw another one at you.
Okay. Who also had to retire because
she had an injury.
Yeah. Again.
Don't try to school me, bitch.
So Corey, you want to do a wrestling podcast?
No.
All right. But no, so I mean, honestly, I love the news. I love that news of John Cena in Duke Nukem. I've said all my piece about it. So we are going to take a break and talk about how you can help us out. And you can do that by going over to gncasts.com/support. On there, you will find our Patreon page where you go there, you donate as much as you want, as little as $1 a month, and it helps us keep the lights on here so we can keep the ship afloat. That's all we're trying to do is keep the ship afloat. And you can do that over at gncasts.com/support.
For more on this Galactic Network podcast, go to gncast.com. That's GNCASTS.com.